The greatest barrier to your leadership growth, it isn't how you handle personnel, although that's important. It isn't how you handle productivity, important. It's not even how you handle your own performance. The greatest barrier to your leadership growth is how you handle pain. Welcome to the Unfinished Leadership Podcast. So, hey, welcome to the Unfinished Leadership Podcast. This is episode 3. My name is Jon Peacock, and I'm thrilled to be with you today talking about something that I think is so important, leadership pain. Leadership pain comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. I've been leading now for about 20 years in some different capacities. I lead in the nonprofit space. I lead a church. And then on the side, I lead a leadership consulting business called Unfinished Leadership. And so I know, and you know, about the pain that comes with leadership. Of course, we know about the blessing. We know about the amazing moments of leadership, and we love those, and we'll talk about those at another time. But today I want to talk about what I believe is one of the greatest barriers to your leadership growth. It is how you handle pain. And pain as a leader, it comes in a lot of shapes and sizes, doesn't it? It comes oftentimes from being misunderstood. When you first became a leader, you had no idea in many ways what you were saying yes to. You had no idea of how at times you weren't going to be people's friend. At times you'd be misunderstood. As a leader, at times you're going to feel tremendous pressure to meet different demands. That's painful. All kinds of different pain. That pain can be emotional pain. A lot of times that's the pain that I have experienced as a leader. There can be physical pain as a leader just from the demand on your own body. I experienced that in a lot of different ways. Relational pain. It's difficult not only to hire people and try to find great people, it's really difficult to let people go, isn't it? And if you're watching this leadership podcast, that means you lead in some capacity. And I love how many people are sharing this with friends. It's a brand new podcast, just episode 3. But if you're leading something, that means that you've probably had to let somebody go, and you know how painful that is. Even when it is without question the right decision, it's painful to look at someone in the eye and let them know that they no longer work here. Super painful. What do we do with this leadership pain? It was a number of years ago that a friend of mine named Sean Williams, he recommended that I read a book. He knew that I was experiencing some leadership pain. I had to let some people go. This is a number of years ago. And things were hard. We had just started this church, Mission Church. We'd planted it, bootstrapped it from the very ground up, and things were growing, but things were super difficult, painful. I was experiencing pain. It seemed like around every corner I looked, it was just more pain. I was preaching every single weekend. I'd never done that in my whole life. Pain. I was experiencing people doing some things that I'm like, oh, why are they doing that? That's painful. I was experiencing pain in other people's lives. For the first time, I had so much awareness of how much pain people are in. Family pain, marriage pain, pain for students, pain for grandparents. People, it seemed like every direction I look are in pain. And so my friend Sean, he said, hey, there's a book I think you need to read. And it's this book right here. I want to just draw your attention each episode to a number of resources. This book is called Leadership Pain. I highly recommend it. I would consider it top 5 of all time most helpful books that I've read. Why? It became a paradigm shift to my relationship with pain. Oftentimes, pain is something that you and I avoid. And what he talked about in this book, and it blew my mind, he said, your level or capacity for influence is absolutely connected with your capacity to handle pain. I want to say that again. Think about this. Your capacity for influence, and you're a leader, I'm a leader. We want to have influence. We want to help people. We really do. We want to add value to people. We want to be a positive influence on people. So we want our influence to go up, of course. And what he says in this book is your capacity to have more and more influence is directly correlated to your capacity to handle pain. And as I read through that book, I was struck with just how helpful it was and how it was naming a key area in my life, leadership pain, that I really needed some help in. And so today we're talking about leadership pain. This just comes with the territory, doesn't it? To be a leader means that pain is coming. In fact, it's been said before, I believe Craig Rochelle says that if you're not in pain, you're not leading. That's quite a thought to think about. If you're experiencing just easy street right now, perhaps you're avoiding painful conversations, you're avoiding painful decisions. And so many times, if you are experiencing pain, that's an indicator that you're probably leading. You're probably pushing back darkness. You're probably making hard decisions. Instead of taking the easy left, right, we're taking the hard right. And so this leadership pain thing is such an important thing to understand. Your relationship with pain, how you see it, how you endure it, how you walk with it, how you live with it, is so important if you want to lead for the long haul, if you want your influence to continue to increase. Man, you and I, we have to understand pain. So what do we do with pain? I want to give you a few things today, very actionable. Every time that we do this podcast, it'll be about 18 minutes. I want to make sure that the content is actionable. And so the first thing that we do with pain is we recognize it. All three of these points will start with the letter R. First, recognize the pain. Call it what it is. It's painful. It is actually unhelpful when you and I think as though, because we're leading, we have to act like nothing gets to us. I just know that actually doesn't help our leadership. There's been a lot of folks that have written about that when we're actually vulnerable, that's actually when we have more influence. We need to recognize it for what it is. It's pain. You're in pain. And maybe no one's given you permission until this very moment for you to recognize what it is, for you to call it pain. You're in pain. You're going through something painful. You're making painful decisions. You're choosing not the easy way. The hard way is the right way, and it's painful. What if you were to recognize it? What if you were to say, all right, I'm going to stop trying to be 6'5" and bulletproof. I'm going to admit that, yes, I'm leading, but I'm in pain. And this is a painful season. Some seasons are more painful than others. I know that to be true. But what you and I need to do when we're experiencing leadership pain first is we need to recognize it. We need to recognize it for what it is. This is painful. Secondly, release it. We first recognize it as painful, and secondly, we need to release the pain. What I've found is, man, if you just bottle this pain up, that is only going to cause more and more damage in the long run. It's now the summer months here where I live in Chicago, which means we have like 3 months out of the year where we can actually go outside and not be cold. And swimming pools are now open. And I remember as a kid when oftentimes we'd jump into the swimming pool and we'd have one of those beach balls, and we would always try to take that beach ball and go underwater and see how long we could hold that beach ball underwater. But inevitably, a time was coming when you couldn't hold that pressure anymore, right? And you'd let go of that beach ball and it would come shooting out of the water, sometimes straight up, sometimes sideways, and hit somebody that was near you. That's what happens when you choose to not release in a healthy way your pain. It's like you holding that beach ball underwater. But make no mistake, that pain is going to come out. And oftentimes it's going to come out sideways, isn't it? It's been said before, and I love this quote, that pain is either transformed or transmitted. And you have agency over what you choose to do with your pain. Will you choose to release your pain in a healthy way? What does this look like for me? Well, it looks like a number of different things. I'm just going to share some with you. When I'm in pain, and I have been in pain, and I am in pain in a lot of different ways, and that's just part of the job, is the number one way that I release my pain is with God. I follow Jesus. I am not a leader that's a Christian. I'm a Christian that's a leader. And my entire worldview is really seen through this Christian worldview. And the really good news is that I have a Father in heaven that sees and understands my pain. In fact, there's so much written about this in the Bible that our God is the God that doesn't stand at a distance and watch us in pain, but he is Emmanuel, he is God with us, and he comes in close to help me in times of trouble. And so the number one way that I release my pain is to God. I bring my pain to him. And I journal about it a lot of times. I go on wonder walks every day, and I walk and I pray and I release my pain to God. And I know that not everyone watching this podcast or listening to this podcast follows Jesus. You don't have to follow Jesus to be part of this community. You really don't. But I do. And I found it so helpful for me to release my pain to the God who really cares and sees me. And so release your pain. Secondly, I will release my pain to a trusted friend. That could be my wife. Many times that's Tommy Bowman, who's he and I lead mission together, and he's one of my best friends. He gets it. Whenever I release my pain, I'll just talk about Tommy here for a second. To Tommy, he looks back at me through eyes of empathy. He gets it. And it's an amazing thing when you share your pain with someone that gets it. I release my pain to my wife, to Tommy, and also to my leadership coach. I believe wholeheartedly in having a mentor or a coach, and I've been releasing my pain to my coach for quite some time. When I'm in pain, when I'm going through it, I'll release it to him. I'm never judged. I'm listened to, and I experience the power of releasing my pain to someone that I can trust. The third thing is this: when it comes to releasing my pain, I release it through sweat. I'm really passionate about leaders that push their bodies physically. I'm a triathlete. I'm an Ironman finisher. I created the Stay Ready Journal, a 50-day guide to growth. And I push myself physically every single day. And one of the reasons that I do that is to sweat. And one of the reasons that I need to sweat every day is to release pain. And so when I'm out there, either swimming, biking, running, this morning I was running with a number of friends, man, this is how I release that pain. And it is a healthy outlet to push your body to release pain. I want you to think about it right now. What are unhealthy ways that you've been trying to release your pain in? It could be binge watching Netflix. It could be moving to a substance, whether that's alcohol or pornography or weed or whatever. It could be a number of different things. And this is such a trap for so many leaders, isn't it? Because every leader, if they're leading, they're going to be in pain. It just goes with the territory. And oftentimes we fall into these vices that we think are going to relieve the pain, yet they don't relieve the pain. They don't help. They're not working. What if you instead right now would think about some different strategies on how you can release your pain? So what do? Leadership pain. I believe the barrier to growth, it really is how you handle pain. Pain, you're either going to see that pain transformed or you're going to transmit it to others. What do? First, what we do is we recognize it. Secondly, we release it. And when we release our pain in a healthy way, something happens that is so awesome. That pain is reframed. It's reframed. And it makes me emotional thinking about the amount of times that my pain has been reframed, where I've experienced God help me to see that, hey, you thought that painful situation, you thought that really difficult and painful thing you were going through was holding you back. No, that actually was something that was moving you forward. Where in hindsight, I now see pain not as my enemy, but as my ally. It's been said before that life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. And I want to encourage you, fellow leader, that I know you're in pain because leadership is pain. It's wonderful and it's great, and there's so many moments of pain. And when you can experience that pain being reframed as something that is actually giving you more influence, something that is actually preparing you and equipping you to lead someone else, it's reframed in such an incredible way. Leadership pain, recognize it, release it, reframe it. If you're not in pain, you're probably not leading. And my hope and my prayer is that this episode has been a tremendous encouragement to you, to equip you. So many different resources that you could go through. I mentioned certainly leadership pain. I could talk about comfort crisis for a while. Love this book, recommend this book. If you're in pain and you want to laugh a little bit, Living with a Seal by Jesse Itzler. This is my guy. He doesn't know me, but I'd love to be friends with him one day. But so many different resources. Those three can certainly help you. Hey, rate it, review it, share this with a friend. I love doing this podcast with you, and I love what God is doing among us. Keep leading, lead strong, And again, I want to remind you that growth, right? This is something that you and I choose. Grace, that's a gift, but growth is a choice. We'll see you next month on the Unfinished Leadership Podcast.